Good morning. 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 Yeah, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. You guys, it's Thursday already. What is going on? Time is fleeting. I'm not going to do the time warp this morning. You'll be quite happy to know. Again, she's messing with the top knot. Emma Roscoe, she's first off the mark. I love it. Who gets it first? It'll be a race every morning. Like Emma's like up there with people that get onto the stream like the quickest. How are we all feeling this morning? It is scorchio outside. Morning, morning. Tracy Tillman in North Wales. Shell Short, good morning, my angel. Good morning. I'm feeling very about the house today. Do you like it? I'm like digging this. Um, my incredible stylist friend, the gorgeous Shell Showett, sent me this. We were putting together some clothes for the shoot that we had last week, and Shell helped me with it. And this was something from Shane. Is that how we're saying it? Shein. And it's like full length, goes all the way to the floor, duster jacket. But I'm definitely feeling the summer Scorchio vibes with a little bit of leopard print this morning. I'm feeling fabulous. Thank you so much. How are you guys doing? If you are watching within the hive, if you are watching within our group, do me a favor, just click on the title and it will say give stream your permission to share your name, and I can see who you are. Then, so if you've joined us from the hive, you will like this Facebook user. I don't know who this is, but hello, lovely. How are you doing? How is weather where you are? I've got a feeling it's a little bit scotcho this morning. It is cracket flags outside. Good morning, Karen. How are you, my angel? Ian Dixon in the house. Ian's going to be joining us this morning, talking all things business. Which I'm really, really excited about. So make sure you join us, not just this morning, but tomorrow morning as well. Chanel, good morning. Angel, how are you? I look fabulous. Facebook user, go and give some permission so we know who you are. It's just in the title of this. So you just click out real quick. You won't miss much. I'm just doing the shit weather. Click permission and then come on back in and come and give us a cuddle. Emma, I'm looking fabulous. Feeling fabulous this morning. Good morning. It's proper Scorchio here. We sat outside at 4 a.m. for a bit of a cool down. We had the fans on and the windows up and all sorts last night. It was red as, absolutely red as. I look amazing. Thank you very much. I have a very fabulous stylist. Josephine, good morning. Good morning. You keep seeing that on Facebook. Yes, go and give permission. Then we know who you are. I'm a sassy, sunny Brummie today. There we go. Right, Sunny and Brum. It is a Scorchio up here in Preston. How else is it everywhere? Tell me where you are. Yes, Emma, I can see. If I could see you now, I can definitely see you now. You are there. Good morning, Janet Dixon in the house. How are you? Let me know where you are in the world. Is it Scorchio? Have we got cold tops and warm bottoms today? Is that what's happening? Let me know. It's sunny in Leeds. I know our incredible guest today, Heidi Mavir. She is in Wakefield. So it's Scorchio across Yorkshire this morning. It's Scorchio in South. It's Scorchio in Somerset. There we go. Scorchio in Essex. Look, would it be fair, my darlings, if it's just Scorchio everywhere this morning? We've got some drunk bees. Look, let's turn them the right way around. I think it is Scorchio all over the shop this morning, and right glad I am. Any international bees in the house, please do let me know. I know we have Portugal that comes through on the regular. I know we have New Zealand coming through on the regular. I know we have Las Vegas coming through on the regular. So let me know if you are elsewhere in the world, and we should represent you up here in the sea, because I don't have a world map. I will do one day, no doubt, when I have my own actual TV show and they can just show you all over the world, right? Oh my God, I thought that said Janice Dixon then. I bet she gets the best seats in the house with that name. Look at those nails. I got some nails. Yes, I do. Because my hands just don't look like my hands without nails, right? Like my tattoos, they need a little pop of red to make my tattoos pop. I'm girls, boys, people, I'm feeling myself this morning. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the leopard print. I'm enjoying like rocking up this morning. How are you all feeling? We are on Thursday. We are hurtling towards the weekend that I am going to take off because it has been an incredible week. but I'm definitely gonna be protecting the hell out of that weekend so that I can rest and play with the kids. It has been insane. So for those of you that have been following what I've been up to this week, I have been with the incredible Nikki James from Just Brand You. We've been selling spots on our mastermind, the Rockstar Level Up. There were 20 spaces available. There are now only 5. So it was literally this time last week. So was it Wednesday? So we've only been talking about this for a week. We didn't even have a chance to get an official sales page out there. And you guys were just snapping our hands off for the spaces on this Rockstar Level Up Mastermind. If anybody does want to grab a spot or wants to know more, please, please, please get in my inbox today or tomorrow, because these spots are going to go. So we've sent out some messages to follow up from people from yesterday who wanted to know more yesterday. I think we sent out about 6 or 7 messages. So if all of those people come back and they say, yeah, we're jumping on, that's it, we're sold out. So get off your bums if you want to know more and get into my DMs, and we can have a little chat about it today. And if you are first off the mark, you can secure yourself a spot before those 5 spaces go. I can't believe it. It's been amazing. It's been an incredible week. I'm so excited for everybody who is getting involved with that. Loads of you have been getting in my How Can We Speak today? Can we speak today? Yes, Belinda Scandal. We can speak today. Absolutely. If you want to give me a bell at 9:30, give me a holler. Josephine Sandra is jumping on that call. Yes, come and get amongst it. Come and have a conversation with me today if you're able, and snaffle yourselves one of those spots on the Rockstar Level Up. What was I going to say? Yeah, loads of you have been getting in touch with me to find out how you can work with me. It's probably the most cost-effective way of working with me one-to-one and in a mastermind group, and with retreats, and with a published book, and with one-to-ones with the incredible Nikki James. It's a bit of a package. So if anybody wants to know a little bit more, please, please do get yourselves into my DMs and let's have a chat. Right, that's enough for me. Quick, I need to tell you, tickets are on sale for Be Inspired. I'm going to tell you about that after our conversation with the incredible Heidi Mavir this morning. I am so excited. She is one of my best friends in the world, one of my soul sisters. I am so blessed with the guests that we have on this show, and today is no exception in the slightest. We've known each other for a number of years, me and Heidi. You are going to absolutely love her. We're going to talk about some really interesting things, some slightly controversial things this morning, and hopefully you'll leave this show knowing a little bit more than you did when you arrived. So hopefully this show this morning is going to make you think a little bit. But without further ado, please, in lieu of the applause button, like, share, get their love button going. I don't mean that in a rude way. I'm going to invite onto the screen the incredible, the unstoppable Heidi Mavir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hang on a minute. Good morning.
I just did a celebration on my own in my garden at 8:30, at 8 o'clock in the morning, going morning, and there was no one there.
I love it. But like, we're here. We're all here.
We are here.
I am beyond grateful to have you on the show this morning.
Well, Dan, you know that this is only happening because this is the only way I can get a proper conversation in with you, because you're so damn busy. I'm like, let's meet up. Oh, stuff it. I'll just come on your show. We can have a conversation
just come on
then.
Show. We could just talk there. It's fine. It's all the stuff that we would be talking about anyway, I figure. So, so yeah, Heidi is out in the garden this morning. It is Scorchio in Wakefield.
Scorchio. And I'm rocking my leopard print. You know that I love a bit of leopard.
I'm wearing this in your honor this morning because I know you love some leopard print. So
there's nothing finer than a woman that's too old to wear leopard print rocking it. Nothing finer.
Too old to wear leopard print. But this is like full length all the way to the floor. Like, I feel like it's definitely loungewear about the house.
Nice. It's nice. You can't beat a bit of stretchy leopard though for a sunny day. Covers a multitude of sins. You can
fan your boobs like this.
Yeah. And do you know what else as well, Dan? Especially for you, I put knickers on this morning.
Do you know what? We've been playing pants roulette on the show.
I've not had knickers on for about 3 weeks.
But like there is no prerequisite. I mean, you could turn up pantsless as long as you don't show everybody. It's fine. But yeah, we've been on my calls when I've been having group calls. It's all been a bit pants roulette. Are you wearing pants today? Or are you not wearing pants today? So people haven't, and it's been fine. It's been very freeing experience.
Yes.
I think through the whole of lockdown is the choice around underwear.
Yeah, going back to underwear wearing is going to be a bit of a shock to the system, I think.
So Heidi, we've been friends for a number of years now, and we've been bestie buddies for quite some time in our little way, isn't it? Because like when you meet people online, because we originally met online,
yeah,
and I came across you and I fell in love with you, and then we took that friendship into real life when a number of things changed. So tell everybody, how did we meet? What was that about? And what was that journey like?
Well, if I remember correctly, as I believe many of your friendships start, there was a bit of Facebook stalking on your part.
A little bit. All my awesome friends. I choose my friends.
You're like, I've been watching you for a while. So yeah, God, will it be about 5 years? Is it more than that?
It's 5 years.
I don't know. I can't remember life BD before Dani.
I was just always here after that, right?
Yeah, you were, yeah. So at the time, I was working in direct sales in cosmetics for my sins. And you messaged, like we chatted a bit, and then you like made me work for it. You were like, oh, I'm thinking about joining the business, but I need to know it's the right person. And then you did that whole estate agent thing where you did that whole there's someone else I'm talking to as well, and you really made me work for it.
I was weighing up, because the thing is, so when we're talking about direct sales, you guys, we're talking about multi-level marketing. And when at the time I had my singing business, I'd come out of corporate, and one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to learn how to run different types of businesses, and I wanted additional income streams. And I toyed with the thought of multi-level marketing before. I recognized multi-level marketing as a legitimate revenue stream, and it is a legitimate revenue stream. And I was looking for the right company, because I didn't want to be selling snake oil. I wanted to be, if I was going to sell something, I wanted to sell something that I would love. And makeup, like I put in makeup on now, is part of who I am. I have tattoos with makeup on. It's very much a part of who I am as a showgirl. And I thought, right, okay, so I definitely want a makeup work. I want to partner with a makeup company. And then the next thing that I wanted to be sure of is that if I was going to partner with a multi-level marketing company, I wanted to make sure that my upline knew her beans and was a good and supportive leader, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't, and lots of multi-level marketing companies, people go around and they recruit in, and they might not necessarily know how to lead very well. And I needed somebody to lead me.
Yeah.
Someone to be accountable.
And it was timely, because at the time in my business, we were like in a period of pretty exponential, that's a big word, isn't it? Growth. And I had a team of an incredible team, but lots of people who didn't really have a business background. And so there was definitely room in my circle for kind of a bit of a right-hand woman, I guess. For someone who like had a bit more of a similar background to me, and who could kind of like bring something to the table. So it was it was very timely, and then like that time, for all that I'm no longer in MLM, that period of my life, some of the best learnings and the best friendships came out of that time. And yeah, I'm really grateful for it, and not least because I got you. That's one of the legacies of my business. We got
each other, and it was a time when I was, I wanted to learn more about how does multi-level marketing work. I need to know more about it. I wanted a good leader, and you are an incredible leader.
Thank you.
One of the things that you are great at was the accountability, was the the creating of community, and being made to feel really special and really recognized as part of a community. And it was a real testament to how very, very quickly you went into that business. They went straight to the top of the business. There was no real People don't do that quickly. When you work within multi-level marketing, it's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard
it
work.
is hard. It is hard work, and we grafted, didn't we?
Yeah.
We pushed hard
There was
for
no sleep.
probably about 18 months, and like the deal with my team, we were always kind of like the mavericks within the business. When we arrived, people knew we had arrived, mainly because in the complete control freak way that I did it, everyone had to wear leopard print anywhere we went.
We were
We
very
pitched up to events
recognizable.
with like a wall of leopard print, and we'd do things like arrive in pink stretch limos
Big
and
stretch limos and yeah.
because if something's just because something's hard work doesn't mean it shouldn't be fun, right? And I think you've got to make that for yourself, and you've got to, especially when you're focusing on something quite big,
Yeah.
you've got to reward yourself along the way, and I think we were quite good at that. We had fun. We really had fun.
And one of the things that you taught me, because our team was called the Slap Addicts, or the Slappy Dicks. But one of the things that you really brought to me was how to create a brand instead of just sort of being so I've been part of particularly the longest amount of time the Carphone Warehouse, and I'm still loyal to this day. I'm very, very loyal when I choose somewhere to work or I choose to be associated with something. Very, very loyal. And what you taught me is that you can actually create that brand and that sense of community. The way that you do it is it comes from within. And a lot of what I've done with I Am the Queen Bee and the IATQB movement has been that real heart-centered creation of tribe, that sense of belonging. And that's a massive in a massive way down to kind of what you taught me about how you create a team, how do you create a tribe, how do you create a sense of belonging. So being a part, whether we were selling makeup or not together, and for the rest of the team, I think it didn't really matter because we were slightly misfity and we were slightly
we were the underdogs, definitely. And I remember being at a corporate event because we were always, our team and our team members were always recognized because we did things a little bit differently, which ultimately was probably my downfall, but it got me where I wanted to be. Like I hit the top of the company and they gave me a 10 grand check on stage and that was amazing, but because we did things a little bit differently, people were watching us all the time, so that had an element of accountability attached to it. Like if we arrived in a room, they expected us to make an arrival, and and some people didn't like it. But I think one of the things that I've definitely learned over the past 5 years or so is try to show up as anything other than yourself. It will bite you on the bum, and it will bite you on the bum hard. And authenticity, genuine authenticity, and whatever level you feel comfortable about sharing in that way is the difference, especially in direct sales and MLM. It's the difference between success and failure, because there are so many people out selling whatever the product is that you're selling in that field. You have got to be stand out. You have got to. People don't buy for the product, they buy for the person they're buying from, and that's right in any field. That's true in any field.
It's the same, isn't it? So you've got a department store in Debenhams or a department store in Boots. You go to the Clinique counter where the lady looks after you the best.
Yeah.
You make a preference in those two places. If like I'm selling a mascara and somebody else is selling a mascara, someone's going to come to me because they like the way that I sell the mascara. They're the most engaged, or they're rooting for me, or all that sort of stuff. So it still very much is, you're selling the same product, but it is very much about brand you. And that's, I'm really grateful to multi-level marketing. And once my tenure, once I realized that actually, because I'm a really good leader myself, once I realized that I could have more impact outside of that circle, and I'd created a team, and it was a great team, and we were starting to have some great success. And then I realized that actually it was the leading of the team that I wanted to do. It was the creation of the movement that I wanted to do. It really didn't matter whether I was selling makeup or not. I just wanted these people to do so well. It was just part of me. And I thought, well, I've got more of a broader appeal if I take the makeup out of it and I just start leading people, and I just start helping people with their businesses. And when I was in multi-level marketing, there was always on the back foot when I had a conversation with someone, because sooner or later I would have to ask them, did they want to join my makeup team? At which point they would go, no, you're trying to... And it just really made a conflict within the things that I wanted to do. And you found a similar a similar situation as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so tricky because I am really grateful to multi-level marketing. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and I've been a single mum since she was like 2 years old.
Yeah.
So for me, there were very few, even though I've got like a really successful career behind me in PR and marketing in the arts predominantly, and then later in the charitable sector. Like for me with a young child needing or wanting to have a career, there were very few options available to me, and especially in the early part of that, my confidence was through the floor and I was going through a very messy divorce and it was just horrific, and for me, MLM gave me, a social life. It gave me opportunities for travel. It paid me for what I was good at, which is networking and, looking after people, and it afforded me a lifestyle for a good while that worked for me. So like I am grateful to it, but I equally think that sometimes, and this I think was true for me and maybe for you as well, you get a bit trapped in the industry and you realize that you're giving away the crown jewels for free. When you could stand alone and you could serve more people if you weren't riding that vehicle of having product to shift. And I think that was my like big eye opener. And when I hit the top of the company, it was a bit like, right, well, I've done what I said I was going to do. So now what do I do?
Yeah.
Because actually,
with climbing any goal, with getting to the point where you achieve that goal, no one stays at the top of Mount Everest. And they're like, okay, what now? Oh, you've got to do it again this month. Fucking hell. Like when you get promoted within corporate, you've got your job. You can turn up again the next day. You don't have to fight for it again. You don't have to 10 years to get to the top of where you want to be. You've got to wake up the next month and then you've got to go again because you start at zero.
Yeah, prove it again. And then the pressure of that, that you're not, show us you're not a one-trick pony. Show us it wasn't just because it was November and people are buying Christmas presents, and things shifted for me in lots of ways in my personal life, in kind of like what I needed and wanted for me and Tilly as a family. There was lots of big shifts. I was having lots of like realizations about the way that things work that I already knew, but like kind of like when a door opens to a new echelon in the business and then you step into the room and you go, oh okay, this is not what I expected. and like it became more and more obvious that outside of my team, these people were not really my people, and the people that were my people were the team that I had built. And then I realized that I could kind of do that anywhere. And I'm very grateful to it. I am. And, I'm not anti MLM at all. I still buy products from friends. I still have accounts with various companies, for my own stuff. But it kind of ran its course for me. But as someone who had very few options and who had a good business head on their shoulders and who needed something flexible, it was absolutely a work for me for about 10 years. So
and this is the thing, it's not demonizing some of the work that we do in the Hive. We welcome people that have got multi-level marketing businesses, and one of the pieces of work that we do sometimes in the Hive is sharing that there are elegant ways that you can sell. You don't have to spam people, you don't have to bombard people, it doesn't have to be your sole identifier. There are other ways you can do this. Although, if you want a huge business, the ones that they share with you, that all multi-level marketing companies and anybody who is within the industry, it is hard work and it is all-consuming work. It's not just a little side hustle if you want to pull in them six-figure checks.
No, exactly.
To earn six figures, you need to do 6 figures worth of work in order to get that. It doesn't just poof magically happen. I'm just going to ask a few friends, I'm going to wake up with this laptop lifestyle. It is very much, if you want to earn 6 figures in any business, you've got a graft. You've got to put in 6 figures worth of work.
I think that's that is the bit that still rubs up against me. I still see a lot of advertising within the industry, and it's like, you could sit on a beach all day, and you could you're on your phone now, why don't you just get paid for it? And it's not that simple. If it was that simple, I wouldn't be only one of 20 women who have hit black level in the company that I was with. Do you know what I mean? If I could do it, you could do it, then everyone would be doing it. It's a particular business model, and I am, for people ask me all the time, I'm thinking about joining MLM, what do you think? And I'll say, yeah, do it, but go into it with your eyes open. And, for a couple of £100 a week, a couple of £100 a month, yeah, go for it. But if you want to make big money, you're going to have to commit 3 years of every part of your life to this. And you're going to have to work like a demon. But also the gift of it out the other side, like the resilience that I have now that I would never have had before.
Oh my God,
If it hadn't been for my time in MLM, I reckon the last 12 months would probably have wiped me out completely. And like lots of really good learning around how to work online and how to manage your time and, like budgeting and all of that stuff has been really helpful to me. So all in all, it was absolutely a worthwhile life experience, and not just because I got you. But that was a big part of it.
But the resilience thing is a big piece, isn't it? Because when you are doing recruitment work or sales work, and this is with anybody, with any business, there are 3 possible outcomes. 1 is that they purchase and everything's happy. 2 is that they'll ignore you because people don't like saying no. Or 3 is that they just say no. And the more you realize that they're the only 3 possible outcomes, that sales suddenly becomes a lot less scary, because
and that none of that is personal. None of that is personal. Nope. The biggest problem is that people, because they're so attached to their businesses in whatever field they're in, any rejection feels like a personal attack. And the biggest lesson.
You don't love what I do? I love what I do. What's that about?
Yeah. And the defensiveness around that, it's crippling, So for sure.
So let's talk a little bit more about that resilience, because the last 12 months has been, let's say, interesting for you and for your family. There have been revelations, there have been, there's been fights on your hands. You are very much in warrior mum mode right now, right?
So we've had a year.
It's a bit of a year. Before we get to that though, when you moved out of MLM, when you decided, it was time, it is something that a lot of people do outgrow. When they realize that they are either in or it's not something that is tenable for them, and it's everything is cool, all things are accepted, and
it's both valid.
You started to create a group and a tribe of people who you would support with the theory of being unstoppable. Tell me a little bit about that, because with the resilience in mind, with everything that you had learned, with everything that you had done and achieved throughout your life, it was a real pivotal moment, and you do so much good in the world with this theory and with this with this in mind.
So Unstoppable Woman came from that. I realized that and by the way, I'm the unstoppable woman. I have unstoppables across all genders, but that's my description for myself. So what I realized, that people kept saying to me all the time, why are you so confident? How come you can kind of like turn your hand to anything? Which I kind of can. It's not a Midas touch. It's just that I have that ethic, and I have that resilience. It's resilience.
Resilience. And also when you turn your mind to something, you're like a dog with a bone. You're like, I'm
tenacious as fuck. Yeah. That should be on my business card. And another, like in the creative part of my world, I'd built a very successful creative business. So I was co-producer of Hebden Bridge Burlesque Festival, which is the biggest burlesque weekender in the UK, if not, it's probably the biggest burlesque weekender in Europe. And I did that for 7 years. Stepped down from that last year because of personal stuff. But people get saying, how come you're so confident? How come you can get on stage in front of 1,000 people without a script and just wing it? And which I can. And how come, what's that about? I wish I was confident like you are. And I realized that actually the thing that I had to offer people was that piece, not about teaching people how to be confident, because that isn't what it's about. Like I can teach people how to fake it all day long, but but like really, and this, it comes from beginning to really take care of yourself, beginning to like prioritize your mental health and your well-being above and beyond anything else. And I realized the stuff that I had learned through my own journey, my own mental health journey and my own business journey, was stuff that people didn't know. And it's dead simple stuff. It's like literally, and people were like, oh, so the Unstoppable Woman is about push, 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 work, 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 which, sometimes that is what it's about for me. But actually, for the past 12 months, what that's been about is just get up every morning and put some knickers on if you can. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do what we do, realize that some days being unstoppable is literally, one foot in front of the other as slow as it needs to be. As long as you're making progress in a direction. And that can literally just be that you have 3 meals a day, or whatever it might be for you. Because I think that there's that kind of what I found increasingly with my private clients and in my group was that people just gave themselves such a hard time about not achieving what they felt they could and should. So like in my coaching business, in my kind of group activity work, should is like banned. We don't use that word at all. Because should is so full of guilt and shame and like expecting yourself to be something that you're not, and just really giving yourself a hard time. So like what I have learned over the past 20 years, but particularly over the past 18 months, 2 years, is that self-care isn't spa days. Self-care is showing up for yourself every single day and prioritizing being well. And just because you're not firing on all cylinders doesn't mean that you haven't got something to offer the world. And just because like the motto for Unstoppable Woman is no guilt, no shame, no self-inflicted emotional pain. Like that's what we do.
Like I feel that.
Because like I have so many, when I've worked with clients and they'll say, I should do this and I should do that, and why aren't I like this and why aren't I like that? There's so many whys, and I'm not saying that there isn't room to work out why you're showing up the way you are, or why you may be hurting yourself the way you are, or why you're giving yourself a hard time about things. That's useful, but ultimately having the answer to why is not going to help you beyond anything other than understanding where you are. Then the next step is, okay, so that's like that, so what can I do for myself to really take care of myself whilst I'm working through this stuff, whilst I'm unpacking this stuff, whilst I'm feeling these feelings and having these thoughts? So yeah, and Unstoppable Woman kind of came out of that, really. And I'm really grateful, because what it has meant is that whilst we've been going through the stuff that we've been going through, which I'm sure we'll talk about, I've been able to give myself permission to, some days I don't show up for my community, and that is okay. Like there's times to push hard and there's times to really take care of yourself, and self-care is so vital. It's the difference for me, and I know for lots of people who have had mental health issues. Self-care is the difference between life and death. It's the difference between living and not living. Sometimes actually, it has been.
It happened for you.
It has been. And like, kind of like actually literally, and also kind of like metaphorically, it's the difference between, is today bearable and is today, just so painful you can't handle it. And, self-care is like, I know that, for some people, a nice day at a spa is lovely. Don't get me wrong, I'll take that any day. But, ultimately, when you're at home and you don't feel that you have the energy to get out of bed, a spa day isn't going to cut it. What's going to cut it is having a glass of water and telling yourself that it's valid you feel the way you feel, and leaning on the people that you need to lean on, and looking after yourself. That's the first step, before you book in frigging weekends when you get massaged head to toe, which I would always take.
We're going to do when all this is all over.
Yeah, for sure.
But so it's this really, people, especially parents, and I mean lots of people do this in different ways, but we tend to lose ourselves in work or being a parent, or actually by taking off every single one of those hats: daughter, father, sibling, partner,
activist, supporter, coach.
And then you're left with Heidi or Dani or Tracy or Lindsay, or it's like a Slap Addicts reunion, in it, Naomi, or like all of these. Like, you're left with who you are, and it is not selfish, regardless of what you have grown to perceive. It is not selfish to perform that radical, that sometimes controversial self-care, because self-care sometimes is saying no. Self-care sometimes is saying to somebody who might be trying to help, I don't know how you can help me right now, but I'm happy just for you to be there. But please don't expect me to have to guide you to help me, because I can't. I don't have the capacity to do it. But I see you. I know you're there. Thank you for being there. Like, we've had this conversation. I just pop my head out. I'm still here. And you're going, I know, I'm still under my... Right, okay, so when you pop your head out, I'm going to be here when you pop your head out. But it's the ability for those supporting people who are in this position as well, to don't retreat when people are giving you those boundaries. They're boundaries for protection. And their boundaries for care, and their boundaries for if you're being asked to do a lot of things, or say you've stacked out your diary, because I don't know anyone who stacks out their diary.
Dani, I don't even know where my diary is at the minute. Which, for me is quite unusual.
It's very unusual. It's very unusual. But again, probably an experience that you've needed to have, like to just put that diary in the bin and just go, do you know what? No, I just need to be is the only thing I need to be right now. Otherwise, the potential is that I might not be. And then what? So when it gets to there, to be saying no to stuff like I can't go to this thing, or you know what, I can't go shopping, I'm going to do an online shop, and actually I'm going to reach out to someone, ask them, can they do that online shop for me, because I don't have that kind of bandwidth. It goes in levels. It could be a spa day, or it could be actually I just need to breathe today.
Literally, I mean, I think sometimes as well, I think it's a natural human tendency when you see someone that you care about suffering. I've made no secret of the fact that I've talked about this quite freely. In terms of mental health, I've had the worst year to date, and like when I put that into perspective for you, when I was in my early 20s, I had a long period of suicidal ideation and a suicide attempt. And this year's been worse. So that probably kind of gives you a bit of framing. But our tendency when we see people that we love suffering is to want to save them, to want to make it better for them, and to kind of like plow in and kind of try to fix everything. And actually, sometimes you do need that. You do. You absolutely do. And I've had friends, our friend Jamie came to my house, and basically I was in bed and couldn't get out of bed, and she came and like bottomed out my house and took all my laundry, and 2 days later it came back clean. Although I think she stole some knickers, but that's by the by. But yeah, but but other times, like you need people. I'm really fortunate that I've kind of like intentionally curated a circle of people around me who will just message me and say, I'm thinking about you. And they don't say like, let me know if I can do anything for you. They say, what do you need right now? And sometimes I'll say, I don't know. And other times I'll say, do you know what I really need? I need you to tell me that I'm amazing. And they'll go, you're amazing.
Because so much work on yourself, that like with love languages and things like that, for you it's validation. I get that too. Like
my primary love language is words of affirmation. And my partner Chris, he doesn't really, his primary love language is acts of service. That also works for me because he does amazing things, like shows up and makes food and takes the bins out and all that jazz. And like at the weekend I was not so great, and he was like, give me a shopping list, I'll go to the supermarket for you. But it wasn't like in an I can fix it for you kind of way. It was like in a, I think this will help you own it. And I was like, and the big part of self-care for me has been able to accept she just opened the back door and said have him and threw the dog out. Is being able to accept help when it's offered, and it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a failure. If you're unwell, be that physically, mentally, or both, and you need something from people, it's a sign of strength to be able to take help when it's offered. So I've got a friend, Jem, who is amazing at all things admin type stuff, and I needed to change my mobile package and change my broadband package, and I'd said to her, oh Christ, I need to do this, and I just can't. She was like, tell me what you need. Yeah, let me go and make you a list of 3 top options on both. And then she sent it through with links. And then I was like, I can do that now. Yeah. Click the link, sign up for a new phone, change my broadband, save myself £30 a month. boom, done. It was just that step that I needed some help with. So
it's the thing, like for I can't fill out forms. Like, I don't know why I can't. I think it comes from when I lost the house 10 years ago. When I lost the house, everything was a form.
the anxiety,
and the fear, applying for things like tax credits, and then tax credits would send all your bank statements because we don't believe you. And I'm like, I was doing everything above board, but there's just this fear around, what if I trip up? What if I don't do this right? What if I get found? It's like when you're in a shop and you walk past the security guard looks at you and you're like, have I robbed something? I think
turning your pockets inside out.
I have 4 kilos of cocaine in my carry bag. Like, it's one of them, isn't it? It's like you talk yourself out of stuff, and then there's this kind of irrational but genuine fear around, and these tasks become impossible tasks. So
and I think people really underestimate the impact that trauma has on their processing. So if you've had an experience like you had with your financial difficulties and, well, all of that was wrapped up in that. Yeah, that's not even. But I've had significant abuse in my life, and so there's a lot of trauma wrapped up in that, and people don't give themselves enough credit to understand that changes the way that your brain operates, because it's trying to protect you. And and then if you layer on top of that, what is the matter with me? Why can't I do these things? I'm 44 years old. I should be able to get on Compare the Market and trying to work out which my best package is for broadband. What's the matter with me? The fact is that if you and if you were a business, right, if your life was a business, you would have a finance director, a marketing director, a sales director, someone who was a sales manager, or an office manager. You would have people to do all that stuff for you. Like, if your life is like a creative force, which I think that most people's lives are, then you're allowed to outsource the stuff that you're not that good at. Particularly if it's from people who love and care about you and know what you need and want, and who you can ask for that help. It's so sad that I see, even on a very basic level, I see people, I have conversations with people a lot about how much they're struggling with their mental health. And I'll say, why don't you speak to your GP about it? And there's so much shame wrapped up in, I don't want to have tablets to make me normal, and we've got such a lot of work to unpack that stigma around mental health. We've still got such a long way to go, definitely. But
so there's, in your life, there has been some revelations that you've kind of come to, not just around you, but around your family as well, that have made this year and the years previous, as you start to unpick it, you then realize that a lot of things in the past make a whole heap of fucking sense once you've had this revelation, I guess, which set off a series of events in the last 12 months that, like, even now you're kind of peeping around the corner from.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. I don't want to lead, like, I've led you to that and you knew we were going to talk about this, but tell us more about this situation and those revelations and where that's brought you now.
So I've mentioned already, I'm a lone parent, single mom, whatever you want to call it. I hate all those labels, but whatever. I live on my own with my 15-year-old daughter, and she's incredible. Like, no argument here. And everyone that ever meets her, of course she is. She's 50% my genes, so she's going to be a bloody badass. But she started having some difficulties around school. Not academically necessarily, but specifically around finding the school environment very overwhelming and very difficult to be in. And she started displaying anxiety. Anxiety was visiting her fairly regularly, and that kind of escalated to the point that she was having fairly regular what would look like panic attacks around going to school, around schoolwork at home, around relationships with other people at school, just everything school connected, putting a uniform on, all of that. And that kind of, like, over time, like, sort of started March time last year. and gradually got harder and harder for her, so that by the time we got to October, she wasn't in school at all. So she hasn't actually been in a school building since October of last year. Apart from, actually, we had a meeting, but anyway, apart from that, she's not been in a classroom in all that time.
Not in a school environment.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, I know my way around mental health. I had, something that I've dealt with myself for like 20 odd years. Plus, I am, I'm a mental health first aider, so I've got some training in that field. I'm a CBT, I've got a CBT qualification, so I know my way around all of that. And it was just like, this doesn't fit that this anxiety is not. There's not a reason. Do you know what I mean? There's not a trigger. It's like school was the trigger, but there wasn't like a trauma or an experience, or like for a while I was like, has something gone on? Has she been the victim of an assault and she's not telling me? Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like, that's how it was showing up. Anyway, we started looking into it, and I had conversations with various people, and it kind of like a light bulb came on one weekend when I was with a friend, and we went for the weekend. And, Tilly has always been, one of the things that I love about living with Tilly is that she says what she thinks as soon as she thinks it. There's no filter. It's hilarious, but also it can be quite difficult. So we were at, and actually that's me too. Like,
yes. I was going to say, she is very much her mother's daughter.
Yeah, I like as it's falling out of my face, I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, so we're at my friend's and we were sat around having drinks, and Tilly went to the loo, and she came back down, and the kitchen door flew open, and she went, I went to have a poo and I can't because there's a massive spider in the bathroom. And this was a room of strangers, and they all laughed, and I went and caught the spider, and it was kind of like, ha ha ha, she's hilarious. But actually she wasn't being intentionally hilarious. That's just her. That's how she responds to situations that she finds challenging. So everyone went home, and then my friend said to me afterwards, she said, so what's happening with Tilly and her autism? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, well, she's autistic, isn't she? I was like, no. She was like, oh, Heidi, she is.
Right.
And like all of a sudden, like it was like scales fell away from my face, and like buildings crumbled, and it was like, hallelujah. But also because I had quite a lot of like misunderstanding around autism and quite a lot of ableism around it, I was a bit like, no, there's nothing wrong with her. And the reason she'd said it is because her son, who is in his early 20s, is autistic, and they'd spent a long time trying to work out what was going on for him, and she just recognized some of the tells. So that sort of started a bit of a journey for us in kind of like understanding, realizing that the way that Tilly shows up in the world is different, and she needs different support because of her neurotype. And then kind of on the back of that, all the way through the journey of, all right, so when you're autistic, it shows up like this. And, I'd all the time been thinking, why did I not clock this? I was doing a lot of whying. Why did I not see this? When she was little and she used to, line up, like literally, we had a penny jar and there'd be piles of 2p's, 5p's, 50p's, like in a line across the carpet in a big like swirl. Why does the TV always have to be on an even number? Why is she a rocker, a flicker, a rubber, all that stuff that's like the sensory seeking stuff that autistic people often have. Why does she go from not hungry to starving in 20 seconds? And some of these things are things that are like our typical childhood traits, but like the big picture is that when you put it all together, it's like, yeah. And when you know a bit about autism, you're like, so I was like, why have I not clocked this? And then I realized the reason I hadn't clocked it was because I'm exactly the same. So I'm like, all the while she's doing things like, we're 6 years old, we're at Brownies, there's a sign outside that says polling station, and we have to go upstairs to Brownies instead of in the regular room. So first of all, she's freaking out because we're not, one of Tilly's stock phrases is things can't change. Because it just messes with her because of her neurotype. She requires routine and she needs to know what's happening. Otherwise she goes into like panic mode. That's the dog barking, sorry. Legs, shush.
Heidi's dog's called Legs, by the way.
My dog is called Legs.
Like, the dog is all legs.
He is all legs. So, you know, if that's bothering you, tell me and I'll take him inside. No. When so we're like, what's going on? You know, we're upstairs instead of downstairs, and the woman says, oh, it's a polling station. And Tilly goes, like pole dancing? And one of the other mums goes, no. And I go, oh, she doesn't know what that means. And she goes, yes, I do. You've got loads of friends who are pole dancers. You know, which is true, but it's not something I was sharing openly with the other mums at Brownies, you know. So, but there's a rainbow. Oh, it was rainbows, not brownies. Sorry. Yeah. So, you know, but all the while I'm having these double realizations that this is why she shows up the way she does, and the gifts of that, but also the challenges of that. And this is why I haven't realized. So over the past 12 months, we've had like the double whammy of realizing that we're both neurodivergent. And like when that happens, when you're an adult, it kind of puts a new filter on everything, and it's new information. You have to go back through your whole life and go, oh, okay, so that's why that happened when I was 12 years old. That's why I had that extreme emotional response in that nightclub that time when my friends left me and I ended up under a table rocking and they thought I'd had a mental breakdown. And, you know, this is why, you know, for me, a lot of my challenges around mental health, thanks for that, Tils. a lot of our challenges around mental health have kind of, they've covered it up. You know, they've kind of like, yes, I have mental health difficulties, because that's quite common for people who are on the spectrum. But that was never pushed aside. And then there was this little like, oh, by the way, you're autistic, like in the middle there, that no one ever. So there was lots of things that I was like, it can't just be mental health. This is not. This is more than that. So I've had that over the past year, and then on top of that, we've had the difficulties of trying to get Tilly some support in school, and that's been a whole other. So she's 15, and like I say, she hasn't been in school since October last year. She's super capable and very keen, but she can't deal with being in a building with 2,000 other people, all of whom are looking at her, pushing past her, all smell different. You know, like when you're autistic, often your sense of smell and your sense of taste, and it's different to neurotypical people. So she smells people. You know, she hears things more loudly. You know, lights are brighter.
And they're not going to get summed up on that as they get older and hit those teenage years. That paired with hormonal changes must just be like a big old etch-a-sketch of the way that she understands things.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I didn't understand about how things are for autistic kids especially is that through primary, you know, there's lots of, especially autistic girls, not to be kind of gender stereotypical, but there is this understanding within the autism community that, you know, girls are socialized differently to boys. So it's often masked, because girls learn very early that if you don't agree with something, you just smile and nod. You know, don't make a fuss, don't take up space, you know, be under the radar as much as you can, you know, all that stuff. Be polite, say please and thank you, you know. And like as a parent, you know, I drilled that into her, you know, say please, say thank you, look at people when they're speaking to you. So I know that neither of us actually make any real eye contact very often. You know, we look here or here. To you, it'll look like we're making eye contact, but actually when I'm working with clients, I need to say to them, just so that you know, I won't make very much eye contact. Don't take it personally. That's just how I am. If I'm making eye contact, I'm too busy focused on making eye contact to be able to give you my full attention. It's better if I can look away and listen to what you're saying. So you made your own Kong. Excellent. Well done.
Good job.
So sorry, squirrel. What was I saying? So go on.
No, you were just saying about how you'd come to the realization and the revelation that it was the both of you that both of us.
And then so I can't remember where I was going with that. Sorry, I'm such a squirreler.
It's fine. You was talking about eye contact.
Masking. So in primary school, kids have a lot of kind of visual aids. So they'll often have timetables on the wall. You know, I didn't learn my timetables till I was nearly 14 years old. You know, I just, the way my neurotype is, I really struggle with patterns and processes. You know, math lessons, I used to cry in the back of math lessons. Plus, I have, an ADD tendency within my neurotype, which means that I find it very difficult to stay focused on things if I'm not completely invested in them. Flip side of that is that when I'm completely invested in something, it's getting done. Do you know what I mean?
Get all else, and that's just
yeah, exactly. Laser sharp focus, but not always where it needs to be. So, in primary, they're in the same classroom all the time. They have the same teacher all the time. They have a really clear routine. They are in usually small peer groups. And, Tilly went to a tiny village school, 60 kids in the whole school.
Yeah.
64, sorry. And then we moved up to a larger primary. It's like having an auto prompt. Then we moved up to a larger primary, which she found challenging, but she was still in the same classroom all the time. And then she went to a huge secondary school, 2,000 kids, like 2,300, not including staff. And, wittering. And, 600 kids in her year group moving around a pretty large, I think it's like a 3-acre site, like classrooms changing all the time, all that extra dynamic of friendships and, teenage boys being teenage boys and teenage girls being teenage girls. And, Tilly is not your typical teenager. She's certainly, that gap has widened socially between her and her peers because it's become more obvious that the things she's interested in is not the things that other teenage girls her age are interested in. So all of that is like this cauldron for meltdown, basically, which is what we were experiencing when she was struggling with school. So
it's masking. It's like having like a bottle of pop with the screw tied,
a Coca-Cola that you shake, like Chessie talks about this, doesn't she? Yeah, exactly. And so we've had a year of trying to get her some support academically, trying to get her some support, pastorally, working with a clinical psychologist through CAMS to try and help her with her anxiety. And she's doing well, but we have had to basically park a load of life and just focus on survival and taking care of ourselves and each other. And that has had an impact on my mental health, which then pushes back onto her because, we're, in all.
It's hard when you're that small unit. It's very hard when you're that small unit.
It's just us, a lot of the time. And so it's really tricky because, there's so much misunderstanding about autism. And I definitely was guilty of making all kinds of assumptions about it, and, even for people who are autistic, we're always discovering new ways in which that shows up for ourselves. So I don't expect for a second that people who don't have that lived experience will understand. But a lot of the work that I've been doing over the past 12 months has been in that field, like in advocacy and in, I'm a member of a really amazing community called Operation Diversity, and I'm their resident mental health first aider. So, there's a lot of knock on for families who are neurodivergent families. Often there'll be a diagnosis of a child within that family unit, and then the knock on is, well, this is genetic, so where's it come from? And it's like, oh, there you go, dad's neurodivergent too, or mum's neurodivergent too, or whatever. And then you get that kind of that spiral of spiral, but
but going back historically, then how you've responded to things all the way through your life, then it's attributed to something else other than what you thought it was originally. And no wonder that sent that kind of spiral happening for you, where you're like, well, I don't understand my life as it is now, let alone my life as it is got there. And even now, just peeping your head and by understanding more about it helps you reconcile it a little bit more, but you're still kind of navigating that path for you both. And it's been, to see, as your friend, it's painful to see you struggle in such a way, but also joyful to see you understand and embrace the incredible parts of yourself that
the gift really of neurodivergency. I think the thing is that it's really, it's not black and white, which for someone who's autistic is quite difficult to get your head around because the world is black and white, right? It either is or it isn't, but it's double-sided coin. There are parts of being neurodivergent that without, people sometimes say to me, well, how do you know what is autism and what isn't? Well, the fact is you don't. How do you know what is? That's like me asking you, if we take your brain out, what's left of Dani? It doesn't work like that. It's so much a part of my identity. It's the difference is that now I kind of understand a bit more why I show up the way I do, why I do things the way I do, and also why there are parts of me that is different to every other autistic person, which I think is a disservice that we pay to people who are neurodivergent, that we assume, oh, they're autistic, therefore, and especially because, the media representation of autistic people is freaking Rain Man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like
a spectrum for a reason, and one
yeah,
person with autism is one person with autism.
exactly
And
that.
the way that it manifests is different for lots of different people. And yes, there are mannerisms or traits or the way that that it presents in some ways is similar, but actually, again, one person with autism is one person with autism, and what you can't do is then apply the same logic right the way across the board. And the other thing I know, sorry, go on.
Go on. No, go on.
I was
No,
just going to say, one of the things that I really wanted to touch on just before we run out of time is there is a phrase out there that I hear a lot that I have been guilty of saying in the past. And until, as part of your advocacy and in the way that you use your platform, and you do have a platform to help educate. And as your friend, I've tried to educate myself as well to try and support you even from the sidelines. Is I'm a little, everyone's a little
bit autistic. Ugh.
Talk to me about that.
That's like saying, I mean, it's so problematic on so many levels. It's like when a woman, or no, not a woman, a person with a womb announces that they're pregnant, right? It's like saying to that person, oh, everyone's a little bit pregnant. Just because you've got sore boobs sometimes, that doesn't mean you're pregnant. Just because, you're a bit moody, that doesn't mean you're pregnant. Being autistic it's an identity, and it's a way of being. It's a way of experiencing the world. And people who are not on the spectrum, and that's why it's a spectrum, it's not linear, it's like a big circle of traits and experiences, and you'll get little, and to get diagnosed with autism, there are very specific things that you've got to hit, in terms of pathologizing the diagnosis procedure, but whatever. Yeah. But the reason that people say everyone's a little bit autistic is because we're human, so we share human traits, right? The difference is that whilst you might like to always stir your tea in the same way, that could be considered an autistic trait in the bigger picture of other autistic traits. Whilst you might be a sensory seeker, and you might be a thumb sucker, or you might twirl your hair to self-soothe, or you might be someone who very quickly responds emotionally, or you might be someone who really struggles with very busy environments. Those are human traits. It's just that when you're autistic, the collection of those traits they're challenging. In order to be kind of it's the double thing of, in order to recognize your own difficulties, you have to be able to establish what is challenging to you. Yeah. And for people who are autistic, life is difficult because life is set up for neurotypical people. Yeah. And autism is a disability, and it's a lifelong condition. There's no cure. Not that I would want one, because God knows what kind of person I would be if I wasn't neurodivergent. But dull. I'm like, what do neurotypical people even think about? God, your head must be so empty. If you've not got a million. No, but also you're probably not neurotypical, but we won't even go there. But I think, it's so. It's like when you say to somebody, if oh, I've broken my leg, and they go, oh, I had an ingrown toenail once. It's like it just discredits the experience of autistic people, and it means that it silences us. So whilst I understand that people are kind of trying to find common ground, they'll be like, oh, I'm a bit autistic. Also it's used as an insult sometimes. People saying, oh, they're a bit autistic.
I'm a bit OCD, and I'm like.
Yeah.
That's an old human condition, I know.
I mean, it's understanding that, people on the spectrum have a very different lived experience to people who are neurotypical. Yeah. And it's not just about it's autism. Aut, the word, is from the Greek meaning inner. So that's why it's so difficult sometimes to explain, because it's an internal experience. The traits are what is seen by people on the outside. But actually, autism is about how you feel and experience the world. And that's why it's so difficult to understand, like autism, like as I present, wasn't actually on the diagnostic criteria until 1994, by which time I was nearly 20. So I was never going to get diagnosed as a child because the way that I present was never recognized as autistic before. Yeah. But I think it's really important that whilst I understand that people are like, oh yeah, I have that, I do that, to try to make that connection, it's also important to realize that that's just what you're seeing on the outside. For autistic people, it's what's happening inside that's so very different to your experience. And the only way to know and understand that is to listen to autistic people.
Yeah.
And to give them space.
And allow yourself to listen as well and really listen. And some of the things that you do and the way that you share and the way that you show up on social media now is very much in the spirit of advocacy and in sharing and in education. And I implore all of our viewers and our audiences who have lots and lots of people found this really, really interesting. And I knew they would, this conversation in all of its from MLM all the way through to autism. I knew we had a lot
covered all bases, haven't we?
Had a lot of ground to cover.
We haven't even done feminism and fat phobia.
So we have a series in us, and no doubt you come back onto the show and we'll have a more conversation about other things. But I think these are the most pertinent things. And as your friend, one of the things that I wanted to share with this audience, I think it's the most important thing, that if you're showing up, in the way that you are, and they have an opportunity to be educated in some way, shape, or form, because that's just what you're sharing, then please do go and follow Heidi on, in your Instagram stories, on Facebook, and all of those sorts of places where you hang out. How can we find you on Insta? Because your stories are really enlightening.
So on Insta, I use my performer name, which is Heidi Banged Heidi. That's not hard to forget, is it? The branding all the way. So you can follow me over on Insta. I do share quite a lot of stuff in my stories on Insta about the autistic experience. On Facebook, I'm Heidi Mavir, spelt like Mavir, but pronounced like Heidi Mavir, sexual favour. And you can find me here. I also have a group called the Unstoppable Inspiration Station. It's a free group, and it's kind of a do what you need to, use it as you need to place. It's a safe place for people to have conversations if they need to, post daft memes. It's very mixed, and it's kind of just like an open house for people to just be. But what I do in there is I'll sometimes share things, because I think I know we're running out of time, but I think one of the gifts of neurodivergency is that because as a neurodivergent person, I'm dealing with life like turned up to the max. The things that I've learned about self-care and resilience and, good mental health, they apply to all neurotypes. It's just that my experience is maybe a more extreme version sometimes. So I share a lot of stuff around that. And I know that neurotypical people find that really helpful too. Because it's like, if you want to learn how to survive, then learn from someone who has nearly not survived, So there's a lot of that in there. And my inbox is always open to people who want to find out more about neurodivergency, or who have questions, or who aren't sure. The golden rule generally is that if you start to learn about autism and you start having light bulbs, as a rule, neurotypical people don't spend a lot of time wondering if they're neurodivergent. If you're spending a lot of time thinking, oh my God, I've always felt like an alien on this planet, and this actually makes sense to me, there's a good chance that you're neurodivergent. So, and the important thing is to find people who you can relate to, who make you feel less alone. Because that's so important for people, for all people, Yeah, exactly. So come find me.
Heidi, I love you.
I love you too. Thanks for letting me just ramble. I think you knew you weren't gonna get a word in, didn't you?
It didn't matter. Like, I'm just so proud of you. I'm so proud you're my friend, and I love you so much. And I can't wait till I can see you and give you a big squeeze, and we can hug in rooms again.
IRL.
IRL instead of URL, in real life. Where, for anybody that's friends out there, he's very, you just has a friend. We made a decision a couple of years ago that, there is a very real danger to confine your friendships, especially when, we live an hour and a half away from each other, to confine our friendship to the URL space,
the
or
online
internet
space. Yeah.
And one of the things that we did was make a commitment to pull that out into the real life as best we can, even if it's just a couple of times a year, to actually get in a room with each other, sit down, have a brew, have a cake and a catch up, or even just sit on the sofa and not say anything to each other.
And not talk about work, like talk about other stuff, because that can be, you know, you can end up with relationships that are built entirely around how you show up in your professional life. And there's so much more to life and to real friendships than that, for sure. You know.
So here's to IRLs. Here's to
IRL.
in real life friendships and URL friendships. And you guys are incredible. Heidi Mavir, the unstoppable woman. I love you. Thank you for joining us.
I love you
morning.
too.
So that was Heidi Mavir. Everybody go and seek her out on Instagram, Heidi Bang Tidy, or the Unstoppable Inspiration Station. If any of what Heidi has said this morning has resonated and you want to go and hang out and find out some more, I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm so blessed, god damn it, with this little show that we've created here on Facebook. I am full of gratitude. What a way to start the day. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, you will be joined, or we will be joined, by the fabulous Mr. Ian Dixon, who's going to be talking all things business. He's one of the best business coaches that I know, and I know lots. So I'm really, really excited to have Ian come on to the show tomorrow. So if you are in the field of business, please do come along and join us. There is going to be some gold in them there hills on the Show Up Rise Up show tomorrow. Be inspired. Tickets are on sale right now. Do you want me to get you the link? Because you're going to need to snap these tickets up. We are going ahead. The 10th of September is a go, everybody. This is not a drill. I have spoken to the venue. The venue is completely on board. We will be limiting tickets to 65. There are only 65 tickets available. We've sold 15 of those already. And that's just me telling you guys that they're on sale. So that's without even a kind of a real marketing push. So please make sure you snaffle your tickets if you want to join us for Be Inspired on the 10th of September in Manchester. Rose has put me on the telly box. I love it. I'm on the fake telly. I've just popped that in there. It might not show up everywhere, but the tickets are at Eventbrite. If you go onto Eventbrite and search Be Inspired Manchester, you will find tickets. They're £89, including swag, including lunch, and including 10 incredible speakers that I've been working with, or will have by then, but for 6 months, honing and creating their craft. They're going to be absolutely kick ass. They are already. So make sure you get your tickets to Be Inspired if you haven't. And on that note, I shall see you tomorrow with Ian Dixon, 8 o'clock, Monday to Friday. If you don't follow me already on Insta, go over the Queen Bee Dani across the socials. We'll carry on the conversation over on in the IATQB Hive. You guys, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.